Hi everybody, welcome to week 30 of our 2018 Home Organizing Challenge. We are continuing our work on those sentimental items, those things that mean the most to us, that often take up the most space in our house. Now last week we talked about the two main reasons that we're holding on to things. So the first was memories, the memories that are assigned to these items, and the second was guilt. And that guilt is the feeling that we should keep something even if it's not as important as some of the other things in our home, but we just can't part with it because of that guilt. So I'm hoping over the last week you were able to really sit down and think about some of the things that you're keeping, some of the things that maybe you've decided you really don't have room for, you're just having a little bit of trouble letting them go. And hopefully some of those questions led you to some answers. And so now maybe this week you're ready to start going through some of those items. So the second thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to sentimental items, our second kind of step this week, is going to be the steps to actually going through a box of sentimental items, or a room that's full of sentimental items, or a storage unit that's full of sentimental items. The steps are going to be the same no matter how big or small your area is. So the first step is really to prepare yourself. So to prepare your body, have water near, make sure that you eat a good meal before. People often underestimate the physical and emotional strain that goes through, your body when you're going through sentimental items. It's very strenuous, again, both on your body and on your brain, because you're making lots of decisions. You're going down memory lane. That guilt is creeping up and telling you, you should keep this, you should keep this, you should keep this, and you're trying to maybe fight that urge a little bit if you feel like you're ready to let that item go. So there's a lot going on, and you want to make sure that you have eaten, a healthy meal, have water on hand, and really, allow your brain to kind of get into that zone. All right, your second step is going to be using a timer. Now, I recommend working no longer than, about 30 to 45 minutes at a time, and taking a short break after that time, and then continuing on for another 30 to 45 minutes. I want you to do this for no longer than about 3 hours in any given day. Any further than those 3 hours, your brain is going to start to kind of glaze over, and you'll start to notice that all of those things that you were, making really great progress on, now you've started to kind of slow down and everything's going into the keep pile because you're glazing over a bit, and it's getting harder to make those decisions. So go ahead, set a timer. Again, 30 to 45 minutes, and that's going to give you, a good amount of time to make some good decisions. And then that break right after that will give you some time to kind of, refresh your battery a bit. All right, the third step that I want you to do is think in terms of piles. So as you're going through these items, I want you to think in terms of creating piles. Just as we've done throughout the rest of your house, you're going to sort things into somewhat of categories. So some examples of categories for sentimental items are keep. And now those keepers, I really want you to think about keeping them somewhere in your home that's going to celebrate them. And we'll get, a little bit more details on that in just a little bit. So that keep pile is going to be your first pile. And then your second pile maybe will be a donate pile. So maybe you're going to donate that item. You've decided you no longer want it. You're going to donate it to someone or some organization that's going to go in a separate pile. Maybe you have some items that you want to pass along to other family members. So those can go in a third pile. So think about all of the different actions that you are going to be taking with these items, and those are going to be your piles. And if you start doing those piles right from the beginning, you'll have much greater success actually making progress, because things are going in, defined areas. Now I will say, if you are planning to hand something down to someone, so maybe this is something that you've been holding on to for a long time. An example of that is children's artwork. We all love it. We kind of have a love-hate relationship with it though, right? Your kids made all of this great artwork. Well, now maybe your kids are grown, they've moved out of the house. You've been holding on to everything because, again, those memories are just, pulling at your heartstrings. You wish that your kids were that young again. And maybe your kids, are just now finally settling down, having their own family. So you've decided, okay, maybe it's time to send these to them. Make sure if you're going to pass anything on to someone that you check with them and just say, hey, I've got this stuff for you. I've been saving it for you. I'm going to send it to you. You might be surprised, or maybe not, if, they say, we really don't have any room for it. I don't really need all of my old, artwork from school. Mom, just go ahead and get rid of it. Now prepare yourself for that conversation, because it does happen, and it can feel like a pile of bricks laid on your chest, because you have been saving these in these beautiful bins and boxes. Maybe you've made, books and binders throughout the years, and you've got this documentation of your child's life, and they've just told you that they don't want it any longer. So do prepare yourself for that conversation, because it might happen. But then just give yourself permission to say, okay, I did my job as the parent, I documented all of this, they no longer want it, and so, we can make the next decision. And whether that is to, again, box it back up and put it away, or until you're ready to get rid of, let go of it, or, maybe you're ready to let go of it now. So again, constant decisions are being made, but always check with the person, the recipient, before you pass anything along, just to make sure that they want it. Again, we don't want to transfer guilt, right? We talked about guilt last week. So we want to make this a guilt-free zone. All right, so as you're going through things, you're putting things into piles, you're making those decisions, you're going to have great success once everything is sorted through. And you can do this process one box at a time. If you walk into a room and you feel like this is really overwhelming, just focus one little corner, one desk, one drawer, one box, if it's a room full of boxes, one thing at a time, and just work your way around the room. I tend to like to work clockwise just because it gives me a way to move, so I know I'm not missing anything or overlooking anything. But once you've done that, the next step, really this is the final step, is to now put those things where they're going. So any of that stuff that needs to go to donation, remove it as quickly as possible. So maybe, do that 3-hour block, and then at the end, schedule yourself some time to go take that stuff to the donation center. If you have something that needs to be shipped to a loved one, a family member, a friend, go ahead and get that in the mail so that it's no longer taking up space in your home. That's one of my biggest rules when I'm working with families, is once you've made that decision to let go of something, I really want you to, trust yourself and give yourself permission to let it go. Don't let it linger, because the longer it lingers in your home, the more likely you are to kind of go back and forth. And, that's when regret happens. And it's not even regret, really. It's that feeling of guilt of, I really shouldn't let that go. So trust your instincts. You know what's best for yourself. Now I want to add one final step. If you're looking at something and you're just not sure what to do with it, you're thinking, I really should keep this, but I really don't want to, but I really should. And, you're kind of, toiling with yourself. Go ahead and make a box that just says, review later, and put those things in that box. Maybe put a date on that box, and so that can get tucked away. But then when it's time for you, when that date comes up, when it's time for you to look through the box, see how you feel then. So don't think that today, when you're going through these things, your final decision has to be made today. It doesn't. There is no time frame on sentimental items. If a loved one has just passed away and you're getting pressured from family members or friends, have you gone through their stuff yet? Have you gone through their stuff yet? There's no time frame. There's no right time to do anything. So give yourself time. If you're not ready to make the decision today, that is completely okay. But having that box there gives you kind of accountability to say, okay, well, I'm not ready to go through it today to make the final decision, but let me check on it again on that date. And maybe you look at it at that date and you're still not ready, and that's okay. You just mark through it and you put a new date on it. But that's something that's going to be there to kind of help you keep going through. All right, guys, so that's it this week. Those are some important steps that you can take when you're going through those sentimental items. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and as always, I'm so happy to help you. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.